Hello and Happy New Year. I am Lady B and I volunteer with AARP Arizona, and we are happy that you are here with us on Back to Basics. AARP is the nation's largest nonprofit, nonpartisan organization dedicated to empowering people 50 and older to choose how they live as they age. With a nationwide presence, AARP strengthens communities and advocates for what matters most to more than 100 million Americans 50 plus and their families: health security, financial stability, and personal fulfillment. AARP also produces the nation's largest circulation publications, AARP the Magazine and AARP Bulletin. In January, we will focus on the thriving job market. As the demand for online, flexible, and remote work increases, more workers over 50 are interested in remaining or rejoining the workforce. However, ageist and age discrimination practices remain a significant barrier between them and jobs across industries. Experienced workers need to be educated about the factors that come into play for their career journeys and how they can equip themselves to overcome them, remain competitive, and achieve results. AARP is the wise friend and a fierce defender of older workers and has programs, offerings, and resources to help with. In an uncertain economy and rapidly changing market, you can count on AARP to help you navigate your job search and career path and fight back against age bias. We are also fighting to strengthen age discrimination laws, increase protections, and help companies across the country foster age-diverse workforces that value experiences. You can join us for tips, tools, and resources to help stay competitive in the job market. That's on www.aarp.org/work. Today, we are joined by Coach SheriAnne, and we're going to talk about resolutions and how we can stick with them. Hello, Happy New Year. How are you?
Hi, Lady B. Happy New Year to you as well. Great. I'm absolutely enjoying our wintry weather here. With it being in the 20s when we first wake up, I'm like, whoo, it's a little brisk, but
It's
I'm
not
loving
snow. Not snow, so that's the good news. And speaking of snow, for anybody that's watching us from across the country, feel free to let us know where you're calling or watching us from. And if you have any questions or comments, feel free to put them into the chat and we'll get to them as quickly as we can.
Yeah.
So I'm glad to see you again. It's our first show of 2024. Yay.
Yep. So new year, new beginnings, renewed hope, new opportunities, new adventures, new ways to give love and show support. And so I do love the new year. And I know everyone talks about New Year's resolutions, and here we are again talking about how to stick to them. And the reason it becomes so popular is research has shown that 12% of people feel successful in accomplishing their New Year's resolutions. That's not very much. And research has also shown that when people have goals that they're setting, 23% of those people quit within the first few weeks. That's devastating. When it's really hard for people when they set a goal and then they don't achieve it. And so I'm here to provide some tips to help you stick to those intentions and resolutions that you're setting for 2024 so that you can feel successful when you're at the end of 2024 reflecting back on the year and saying, yes, I feel really good about sticking to what I intended to and my intentions in January. So
Did they say why 23% of people quit their resolutions?
a lot of it is because they don't have that renewed, they don't keep renewing it within themselves. And so that's where the tips will come into play, and they just lose sight of it, or they've set a goal so large that they don't know how to chunk it out. Because that's a lot of it too, is they lose perspective, and they just like, okay, I'm done. Like I fell off the wagon. So what's the point of getting back on the wagon?
Right. Wonderful. Well, we're looking forward to these tips you're going to share with us to get us started. Welcome, Sandy. She is in South Jordan, Utah. She says it's cold and snowy there. No, thank you. No, you keep it right there in Utah. We're glad that you're with us. Stay warm. And again, if you have any questions or comments, feel free to put them in the chat. All right, Coach, what do you have for us?
Well, okay, so let's dive right in. So typically people go with the typical goals of, want to lose weight, have a healthier diet, exercise regularly. Some people have financial goals, financial choices. Some people, believe it or not, are still smoking and want to quit smoking. And some people want to spend more time with their family, which you'll never regret that. So you should always have that up there. Some people want to get organized, to reorganize their home, and get it decluttered. Some want to learn a new skill or a hobby. So these are some of the typical resolutions that I see with people. And those are great. So because if you want big grandiose ones, it's good idea to sit down with someone and chunk it out and break it down throughout the year so that you can have little goals that you're going to hit, because that's a lot of the reason why people don't achieve their goals is they pick something really large and then they lose sight of it because it's so big that they don't chunk it out and create little goals along the way. So tip number one is, we've all heard of SMART goals, right? Have you heard of SMART, the acronym SMART? It's been around for ages, but it really, really is very important to think about SMART. So what it stands for is, S is being very specific. M is for measurable. A is for attainable or achievable. R is for relevant. And T is for timely, making sure that you have a time associated with that goal. So SMART goals, and I know you and I have even talked about it on the show here, Lady B, but SMART is one of those ones that you can easily kind of grab a hold of and help you break your goal down and make sure that it's something that you really want to talk about. And I just said goal, and it made me think I do want to take a step back and talk about goals versus intentions. Goals and resolutions. It's always been coined New Year's resolutions or New Year goals. And so my word I like to use is intentions. And the reason behind that is because intentions focus on the why and the motivation, the heart behind the goal. And it's really important to have that intention with your goal, because you can have, so the goal or the resolution focuses on the how or the what of what you're wanting to achieve. The intention behind it is the why and the motivation. So I really encourage people when they have a goal, like let's kind of reframe it and reword it. I love words. And make it be more of an intention. So say someone's goal is, I want to lose 30 pounds this year, which is a great goal. We can kind of piece that out and figure out how that's going to look week by week. But the intention behind that would be, I value my health. I value good health. I'm motivated to do things to improve my health so that I can have longevity and good years to my life. So that would be the intention that would go with that goal. And it's important to have that, because part of the reason people fall off is they don't stay attached to their why and their motivation, the intention behind what they want. So if you stay attached to that, it's easier to keep chunking away at that goal and that resolution and feel accomplished. Does that make sense?
Oh, absolutely. It has a lot to do with our value systems and our standards and where we are along the way. Absolutely. Because if I say that I just want to lose 30 pounds, who is that for and why is that? But if I understand in my head and in my heart why I want to do it, to look better, to feel better, so that I can have more energy, whatever those reasons are, it almost becomes part of the affirmations you can use to hold on to them so that they're clear. You need the clarity for it. Mm-hmm.
Yes. Yep. I mean, really what we're talking about here, to stick to your New Year's resolutions, is we're talking about behavioral changes. But when people talk about things like that, they're like, ooh, wait, what? Like, do I really want that? And but if you break it apart and really peel back those onion layers, that's really what we're talking about, is behavioral changes. And they don't happen overnight. It is a process, and it takes time and effort and consistency to make those behavioral changes. That's really what we're talking about when we're talking about New Year's resolutions. So embrace it, lean into it. So back to our tips. So because I have 8 for you. So one is to do SMART goals. So really quick, once again, SMART is being specific, make sure it's measurable, attainable, that it's relevant to what you're really wanting to achieve, and timely. And based on our conversations that we've had, Lady B, I think that your R is your R different? One of your
I wasn't going to say anything.
Oh, geez.
My A is different. My A is action or activity, so that
Yes.
we can, in my specific goals, I need to write what is the plan? How are we going to get there? And my R is reasonable. Is it reasonable? Do I have the resources, the support, and the rest? Yeah.
Yes. So it's I love that because it just provides another layer of something of relatability for our viewers, because not every word is resonates with everyone. So I love it. So yeah, so your A is actionable and your R is reasonable.
My A is action or activity, and the other one is reasonable. Yes, ma'am.
Oh, I love it. Okay, perfect. So number 2 is part of your SMART is number 2 is to track your progress. So, and the reason that we do this is because if you don't have a starting point, then how do you know how you're progressing?
Right.
And if you have a plateau, like you can look back at your starting point and readjust. So tracking your progress is really, really critical. And that goes with the measurable part of SMART. And there's a couple of websites that I like to steer people to use that. And there's stick.com, and it's stick with 2 Ks, and Beeminder. And these are great places to track your progress. And if you don't want to use an app or a website, get a resolution journal, an intention journal, goal journal, however you want to word it. But get a journal and keep track of how you are progressing so that when you do hit a plateau, you can look back on that and see how far you've come to help reattach you to your intentions and your motivation. Because we all are going to hit spots, dead spots, I call them, where we're like, oh, like I don't feel like I'm progressing very much. But if you can look back and see where you started, then you know that you are progressing. And if you are at a plateau or you aren't progressing, then you can just make some adjustments. You can look what has worked and what hasn't worked to move forward. And sometimes part of tracking your progress too is you can make it fun, in the sense of you can create what I call a penalty clause, in that if you do get off track, you can create a penalty clause for yourself where you're putting money into a pot and that money goes to charity. So every time you fall off the wagon or, get derailed, you can give yourself like, oh, because some people are motivated by money, some are. So you can put that money into a pot, but that pot's going to go to a good place. You're going to pick your favorite charity that you're going to donate that money to. So it does go to a good cause, but you're also making yourself like be held somewhat accountable to staying on or off your track, what you're trying to stick with. So track your progress. It's really, really critical. The next tip I have for you is to have patience, to allow yourself some grace, to allow for emergencies, because life happens. It just happens, and it happens to us, and so it happens for us. There's a lot of ways that you can look at it, but allow some patience and a grace for yourself, because change, like I stated earlier, does not happen overnight. This is a process that you're going to have to really kind of create for yourself, and that's not going to go perfect. So allow yourself some patience and some grace, and just make sure that when you do get derailed, that you go back to trying to be as consistent as possible. But we're not perfect. We're fallible human beings. And life happens. So allow for emergencies. You can learn and adapt from those, which leads me into my very next tip, which is get up when you slip up. Okay, so get up when you slip up, because we are going to slip up. And if you can have these little coined phrases for yourself, like get up when you slip up, it's okay. This will help you develop some resiliency and to stick with it, because we have a tendency to, when we slip up, we're like, some people are like, oh, is it really worth it? I've lost the ground that I've gained? Is it really worth trying to work back at it? I mean, I've heard so many people, because coming from the fitness industry, like it's so hard to get started again. And, and they don't want to, it's the start that stops people. And it's, if you can embrace, just get up when you slip up, it's okay. Because, and another thing that goes along with that I like to encourage people is to help your friends. Find people that you can encourage for them to achieve their goals, because in turn, helping them, it's going to help you. It's always best when you're trying to help motivate other people, because in turn, out of integrity, you're also going to work on your own goals, but by helping people, you're also helping yourself. Which leads right into the very next tip, which is publicize and share your goals. Write them down so that you can see them. Put them on a vision board. You and I have talked about vision boards, Lady B. Put them on a vision board, stick them on a sticky note on your mirror, on your refrigerator. Do whatever works for you. But make sure that you've written them down and you have shared them. Publicize them and share them with friends and family. And that way you are announcing what you're trying to achieve, and you can receive support from friends and family, because it's important to receive as well as give. But at the same time, you can give and help other people as well. So it's really, really important to share. I always say publicize and share, like get it out there. And that way it makes it more real. Because if you just keep it to yourself and keep it in your own head, it's not as real. And so it's just so much better when you have a community and a tribe behind you helping you achieve your goals, because in turn, symbiotically, you can be helping them. It's a huge, huge thing. So I want to pause in case you want to add anything, Lady B, because you always have wonderful things to give in this arena, because you are a giver. You are very much a giver.
I want to go back to, with the measurable, even there, what I do is I have an accountability partner. And so it's not, and that's part of my publicizing and sharing. And it's with someone, of course, that I would trust. And the questions that he asks me and that I ask him, so it goes both ways, are questions that could be answered with a yes or no, or a number. And so there's no judgment in it. Did I drink more than 8 glasses of water today? That's yes or no. And that's easily something that I can track, and there's none of this tisk, tisk, tisk. You didn't do what you said you're going to do. Right. But you can see, and if I'm monitoring that in an Excel sheet or my planner or someplace, I can see where I'm doing well and where I need to improve. So that's really, really helpful. Part of the get up when you slip up for me is understanding why I slipped. And that's going to help me stay up, because not only do I want to get up, but I need to stay up. Mm-hmm. And if I understand that I slipped because I didn't have a plan in place, or whatever it is, that's going to help me along the way too. So when we're writing these goals, that's part of the specific, and that's why I use action and activity, so I can put in there specifically what it is I'm trying to do. And I'm more private than you, and so I just marvel at how you're like, you put it out there, let everybody know. You're not going to come back and throw my words against me. You said you're going to lose 20 pounds and you're still fat. No, you're not going to say that to me. No, I'm going to tell my sister that I'm planning to do this, and she can tell me, girl, you haven't done anything. And I know that that's coming from a place of love. And I say that in jest, but not really. And so I think we have to be mindful of that too. I love these points. All right, tell me what's next on your list.
Well, what's so great about that though is there's even times where I have written down a goal and I'm like, do I really want to share that one? Because what if I don't achieve it? And that, when I have that feeling though, that's when I lean into it. And I'm like, ooh, if I'm second guessing if I should share this one, I'm definitely sharing it, because then I can be held accountable. And because it is a goal, it's something that I do want to achieve. And if I'm afraid that I'm not going to be able to do it on my own, then I'm more motivated to share it, but I'm sharing it with people that are going to love me and support me no matter what. And there's no judgment in that. And also, the older I get, the less I'm worried about judgment. Because the judgment comes from me judging myself. I mean, yeah, there's going to be people that will judge me, but that has no bearing on who I am and what I stand for and my philosophies. And the older I get, the less I care about other people's judgment of me. It's more about me judging me. And so uh, it's lovely when the older I get, the more I embrace, ooh, am I scared of that? And then I'm like, yep, I am. Let's go. But
And I get that, and I guess there's a dichotomy to that part too. I agree with you on some level about that. It is one of those, I'm going to put it out there because I want to do it, but I'm also mindful that not everybody's happy for you. Not everybody wants to see you succeed, and so I'm mindful of that, and that's why I don't share everything with everybody, because I don't want to let any of the negative energy in. And sometimes the
yeah,
people think, so it's blah 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 blah. That's a whole nother topic for a whole nother time. All right, what's your next tip?
but it's so good to have a buddy system. Have somebody, like, I love that you have one person you can go to, and it's important to have that. The accountability is wonderful. And the getting up when you slip up, back to that really quick, it is about learning and adapting, because we make mistakes, but we learn the most from our mistakes. If we're super successful when we walk out and everything like is grandiose and everything lines up perfectly, then what are we really learning? We do learn from our mistakes. So it's okay when you slip up. It's okay when mistakes happen. It's okay when you have adversity. And it's so many people freak out and shy away from adversity, but that is where you actually have the most opportunity to have growth and be adaptable. We have to be adaptable in this world. There's
Yeah.
so much out of our control, and we can only control the controllables. So being adaptable is really a wonderful thing. So getting up when you slip up, it's like, okay, lesson learned. I'm going to make some adjustments. I'm going to adapt to this, and then I'm going to move forward. And it's really important to do that, because that will also help with your longevity in life, because we always get knocks and bruises throughout life. I mean, that's just life, whether it be health, job, friends, family, it happens. So learn to be adaptable. Learn to be a little uncomfortable to get comfortable. Okay, so enough of that. So the next one is put it on your calendar. Put it on your calendar so that you can have consistency. And this is where your A is action steps, which is great. And create non-negotiables for yourself. And what I mean by that is, a non-negotiable for me is my workout routine. That gets done all the time unless I'm really sick or something else has completely derailed me. But that rarely happens. It might be once a month where I'm like, yep, today I'm not doing anything. And I'm just going to be a lazy bum. And sometimes I need that. But for the most part, my non-negotiable is I exercise almost every day, or I do something where I'm out freeing using my body for something and allowing my mind to just be in the moment. And it's really, it's easy for me. Like, there's some people, the alarm goes off in the morning and they have in their planner to go work out, and they're like, oh, I really just want to hit the snooze button. But that's not me. But that's because I'm 48 and a half years old, and I have worked out so consistently that it's just a non-negotiable. It's part of who I am. There's other areas in my life where I'm working at having non-negotiables so that I can be a little more successful in other areas of my life. I'm not like that across the board. So, but you have to have, I encourage you to have, I shouldn't say you have to have non-negotiables so that you can create a routine and have it be habitual for that goal that you're wanting to task for yourself. And put it on your calendar. Make that a non-negotiable when you put it on your calendar. Block that time out to work towards that intention and that goal so that you can feel successful in it. Because if you don't schedule it, life will happen and life will squeeze it out if you allow it. So make it a non-negotiable, put it on your calendar, block that time for you to work towards that goal. It's
Agree.
really important. What were you going to say?
I said, I agree.
Yeah.
And perhaps when you write that down on the calendar, put that intention or that affirmation there, that Bible scripture, whatever that is, to help you, that reminds you of why you're doing this.
Yes.
And that may be one of the reasons that keeps you on track too. Discipline is not easy for some.
No, it takes diligence. It's a process that you build up. And it's kind of like a callus. Like whether you have callus on your hands or your feet, like that doesn't just show up. Like it comes from constant friction and constant doing of something, and then you have that callus. So it's the same thing. And so the next tip is stop the all or nothing mentality that you have. Like, I got to be able to do the full hour or it's not worth it, and life happens. If life does happen and something's creeped into that hour of time that you've blocked away for yourself, 20 minutes is better than nothing. So if life happens and you can't get the whole time, don't think all or nothing. Think 20 minutes is better than an hour, or whatever increment you have set aside for yourself. So allow yourself some grace. This goes back to the topic I talked about, the tip earlier about give yourself some patience and grace. So I encourage you to stop the all or nothing, mentality.
But it also goes back to the R, the reasonable. Is this a reasonable goal? You have to be honest with yourself. If you haven't exercised in 47 years and now you plan to say that you're going to exercise for an hour every day, no. That's what you do, coach. That wouldn't be what I do. So maybe I do need to start at 15 minutes or 25 or whatever so that I can work my way up and not get discouraged. And when I see that I'm reaching a goal that is reasonable for me, then I can work towards something else.
Yes. And if you've set an hour out and you find yourself consistently only having 20 or 30 minutes, then adjust your goal. And that's okay. That goes back to get up when you slip up. So you set a goal too large to attain at the time, and it's not reasonable. You don't have to just chuck it out the window. You can make some adaptations and readjust that goal. So
Indeed.
the last one, which is the one that I love the most, is make it fun. Make sure that you are doing something that you really do enjoy or is going to bring you joy. And it's, because you will be able to persist longer if you are enjoying the act of the pursuit of whatever you're going for. So make it fun. If it's exercise and you're not much of an exercise fiend, then make sure you're taking a dance class because music always makes people happy. So just make sure that you're doing something, you put some fun in it, and maybe do a temptation bundle. So if it's to pursue writing a book and you're having a hard time sitting down writing, but you blocked out that time to go write, but you're just like not, give yourself a pleasurable thing. Like maybe it's just drinking, going somewhere and drinking a latte and having it in a fun environment, so do temptation bundles to help you go do something that you're less than excited to go do. And especially if it's something like, trying to incorporate a healthier diet or exercise regularly. And that's just something that's really hard for you to move towards. Create something fun that's in with it. And
Not a bad idea.
Go ahead, please.
Just not a bad idea. Trying to make it fun on some level, I think, is not bad. I like the idea of, like dancing and putting music on. It can for many people make that fun. And, if you can't do everything outside the house, maybe you're cleaning up around the house. I mean, there are other things that you can do perhaps, and take a look at what those things are so that you can still feel successful in what you're doing so that you don't get down on yourself. And those are the areas I think that come into play where we decide we want to quit or to do something, and we don't want to do that.
Right. Yep. It's really, I will encourage people to wrap it up in the sense of just make sure you're having fun with it. Make sure you're staying attached to your why and your motivation, and have those, either daily or weekly reminders of why you're doing it. And that will help you stay much more connected to the goal if you have your intention connected to it, because it's much easier to be attached to our intention and the why and the motivation than the actual act sometimes.
Absolutely. So, when we think about this again and we're going over our resolutions, consider your your why. What is the reason that you want to do this? Make sure that you're clear about that. Make sure that it's going to serve you well. Because at the end of 2024, many of us have looked at 2023, and we need to know that the harvest that we have, reaped is one that we have sown. So what we sow is what we're going to reap. Make sure that the seeds that we are sowing are going to be a wonderful harvest for us coming up. We want to say thanks so much for being with us today. It is the first show of the year. Next month, we're only going to be here once a month now. We're changing things up. So you will see us in February, the second month, I think is the 13th that you will see us. Look forward to seeing you then with another topic on Back to Basics. Take care. God bless.